the Rangers Journal now.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Rangers Journal. It's a Monday night pod. Well, what a disappointing weekend. Another weekend where the air has been sucked out of the fan base to a large degree. Obviously, we do have Europe to look forward to, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the pod. But really, I'm sitting here, and I think one of the guys said it in the pod last night, I'm not even angry, I'm just completely done with it. Well, not done with it as regards done with the season or done with the team, just feel like it's crashed. You know, all the hopes we had from the new owners coming in, and okay, we didn't particularly fancy the manager, but 2 draws, it's not a great start to the season. But look, we're here to talk about that and amongst a lot of other things as well. I'll come to you first, Ryan, mate. I can now say that I have met everyone in person on this show. It was good to meet you again at the weekend, mate. How are you this evening?
I'm okay. I'm still licking the wounds from the weekend, to be honest with you. Starting
not
to
from
feel
the game.
Aye, the game, obviously, the psychological damage that the game obviously do to you, but yeah, I rather enjoyed the hospitality, let's put it that way.
Me too, mate. Me too. Ricky as well. Great to meet you. Didn't spend as much time with you as I did with Ryan, but yeah, nice to meet you in person.
Yeah, likewise, Billy. Obviously, we were all going our different ways for our various hospitality sort of venues, which was an absolutely fantastic day. Thoroughly enjoyed it. There was a crowd that was up from Harrogate, and we all had a really good day, but obviously the game was a big disappointment. Just no cohesion in that play whatsoever. And it's one thing, I think we need to sort of just bear in mind. These are really important European games we're playing, and we'd never ever seem to turn up at a weekend after a European game, whether it's a Thursday night, Sunday. It's always dreadful on the following domestic game. And I'm not trying to make any excuses here, but it's not just us. It affects quite a lot of teams when they come off important European games. And that's where the mentality thing comes in, I think. We just cannot get ourselves up to it. And that was very, very evident at the weekend. It was very, very poor, considering how well we played during the week at the home leg against Pilsen. It's hard to try and understand just how we can go from one extreme to another in 4 days. It's difficult to understand.
Yeah, last but not least, Andrew, you didn't get to have the hospitality. Ryan and I were in the museum hospitality, and Ricky was in the Gordon Ramsay sit-down, nice posh dinner, bottles of wine. We just had to put up with bottles of beer and whiskies. But how are you this evening, mate?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. At least another week has started. Obviously disappointed from the weekend to be 4 points behind this early on, 2 games in. Frankly, is laughable. But yeah, if you're gonna not play too well, it's probably best to do it now and then motor on. But yeah, could be better, could be worse.
I guess it technically could be worse. It doesn't feel like that at the moment. But look, as I said, we're going to spend maybe 10 minutes or so just discussing the game. We have had 2 pods already on the Dundee game with the post-match reaction, and also the guys. Dave did a pod last night with a few of the guys to kind of talk over their annoyances, grievances, or whatever. So we'll give you guys the opportunity to do the same. But we are going to concentrate for a little bit, also looking at Diomande and how he has performed since coming to us, compare and contrast from his previous team, and how he plays for us in Europe and how he plays for us in the league. And we'll see if he really is the player we need in that position. But Ryan, mate, let me come to you. As much as it was a good weekend for to spend some time with you and be in hospitality, the game itself wasn't particularly fantastic to watch. What was your take of the whole game?
Much like last week against Motherwell, I thought we were lucky to escape with a point. Sam's done well to win the penalty for us in the last minute, but quite easily, if we'd walked out of the stadium with nothing, we didn't have much to complain about. It just shows the Jekyll and Hyde character of so many players within our team, and you could go at them, you could point your fingers at so many of them and just say, look, how can you perform so well on Tuesday night and bring in a stellar performance to then basically almost there? It's the mentality, it's just the application of it. It's madness. I just can't get it, and I don't think he should have picked the same team. I understand why he picked the same team, obviously because they played so well. But I thought he should have freshened things up. We speak about a European hangover, guys coming in and needing, obviously refreshed and stuff like that. There's plenty of guys within the squad that he could have brought in and challenged for places and kept guys ready again for Tuesday coming. It's brutal, and it's getting boring talking about it. constantly every week saying this isn't good enough, this is tippy-tappy. We're booing our own players onto the park on occasion as well, which I've never seen. I've seen players booed off the park at Ibrox, which I don't agree with anyway, but I've never seen anyone booed onto a park. And I was really, really disappointed when I seen that happen. Like, what do you think? Do you think Kieran Dowell's going to then start turning around and giving you 110% after he's been booed onto the park? It's just not good enough, and it's this. I've described it as a cancer within the stadium, within the club. This kind of horrible mentality, and as fans, we're not helping. We're not helping the situation. Shouting and bawling and booing and stuff. We're not helping the situation. We've got to get behind what's in front of us, like it or not. We've got to get there. We've got to be there, screaming them on. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
I guess we had to have one happy clapper on the pod this evening, but I get your point, mate. You know what? I took it from the booing. I don't like. You're right. I'm not going to defend that. It was not really for Kieran Dowell, in my opinion. It was for the manager and the board, I guess. We need better than this at the club. And if you're taking off Lyle Cameron, which you did for Dowell there, and I thought Lyle Cameron was actually playing all right, and bringing on someone who has been... The opinion of him is just not going to change now. I don't believe, even if he goes on a run of playing half decent, he's not what the fans want. Ricky, I had a point to ask you. It wasn't about Kieran Dowell coming on. It was about the two games. Ryan mentioned, we come away with a draw from both these games, opening games of the season. I felt, though, completely different games. Dundee, obviously, for most of the game, had all the players within 30 yards of the goal line. They don't play the what you can call a low block. That's not really what a low block's meant to be. A low block's meant to be, okay, yeah, you play deep, but then you break when you get a chance, when a mistake is made. They weren't really even doing that, whereas Motherwell last week were on their faces, and I felt Motherwell did deserve to win. I don't feel Dundee deserved to necessarily win yesterday, but again, the end result is still we come away with 2 draws.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't understand where the midfield were yesterday. I don't think MD had any pass marks, but there was nothing in the midfield at all. There was no outlet. You had your 2 sort of guys in front of the so-called pivot, Rothwell, who, for me, Raskin's a far better player than Rothwell than what I've seen, and that is Raskin's position. He's now trying to, again, it's the round peg square, try to put players into positions which they're not comfortable with. The Diomande and Lyle Cameron were just so too close to the wingers. They were stifling each other's areas, and there was nothing through the middle. And I just don't understand where we were screaming for a number 10 in that game, and so, just to try and get somebody beyond Dessers. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Dessers. I just don't think he's good enough. But the boy's not getting any service. It's hard to condemn somebody who's not getting any service. And at the end of the game, he's caught offside. He's caught offside because he's not on his toes. He hadn't been on his toes all day because the boy's starved of getting any, in behind, any make decent runs in. And that's got to come from the middle of the park. There's nothing there at all. And I just don't see what Rothwell's bringing to the party at the moment. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm going to write MD off in the moment, but we had a fantastic player last year, Nico Raskin, probably one of our biggest assets right now, a Belgian international, and he's not playing in his true position, which is our number 6, as far as I'm concerned. If he's going to play a double pivot, then play him with Rothwell, but we don't play double pivots at Ibrox, so we shouldn't be. So for me, it should be Raskin instead of, Rothwell, and try and get, we're going to talk about Diomande, he's just non-existent at the moment. He's just not offering in as far as a threat. Everything from the back, when it breaks down, your fullback, it's recycle. It's bloody boring stuff, recycle. Nobody turns on the ball anymore. It's absolutely dire, and there's lots of room in the middle of the park for somebody to turn. When I played football, people used to talk to you, turn. All of a sudden, we're not doing that anymore. There's bags of room, and it's just getting recycled, and then it just comes with the block of five, and they're just letting them to get back into their position. And it's hard for us to break that down because nothing is with tempo. It's all turgid, slow, tippy-tappy football, recycle, and it ain't going to work. Now, there's a lot of good players still got to come back into that team. But Iggyman, we don't know what's happening to him, but he's still got to come back in. Young Mickey Moore is apparently a very, very good talent. Asgard, he could be that number 10 that we're screaming for. We don't know because we've not seen him yet. And then obviously there's a few boys still got to come in the door. We need a left back. We're desperate for a left back. And just to give that balance, I know we're going to talk about the game the other night a bit for tomorrow night. We do need to have that balance. I don't want to see Aaron's at left back because we don't have the balance, but we'll come on to that, Billy. But it's just that system that he's playing at the moment it's just no cohesion. And as I said earlier on, to go from Tuesday night, it was such a fantastic, fabulous performance for the full 90 minutes almost, to that on Saturday was very, very poor.
Andrew, we were kind of told that Russell Martin's coming in because he knows how to play against this low block. Do you think he's misunderstood what a Scottish low block is, though?
I don't know. He was asked a few questions in pre-season by the press about his kind of build-up play and how is he going to alter it in Scotland due to the severe low block. And, you know, he did talk about adaptability and, you know, it wouldn't be the same. It's looking a hell of a lot the same at the minute, frustratingly so. 49 minutes it took for us to get a shot on target against Dundee at home. And no disrespect, you know, we've had, not to be disrespectful to Dundee, but they are an absolutely atrocious side. The league, not the Betfred Cup, the Premier Sports Cup group stages, they were conceding goals all over the place. They were drawing and losing to, you know, low league opposition. They were in a bit of a mess. And Stephen Presley, no disrespect, isn't the type of guy that's going to get you G'd up to go out at Ibrox to, you know, win. And don't get me wrong, you know, fair play to them. They did. They knew how to take the game to us. Things that stuck out for me in the match, you know, for once we've now got two wingers, one on the left, one on the right, who can really play football. And we're not using them wings properly. We're not stretching teams. We're not dragging players out there and creating space in the middle. The crosses we're getting into the box, there's only Dessers in the box. And when he's up against a defender, there's only one winner, generally speaking, got to be completely honest. Our average passing for the season across the 5 games is 88.9%, which is far too high. And when I mean far too high, I mean it shows that we are playing the easy ball far too often. You look at where the passes are all coming from. It's coming from the back line. That horseshoe, pass, 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 pass. Then it gets played forward. There's an opportunity to go forward, and then we stop. We look around. We don't necessarily fully play it back, but we then kill any sort of chance of a move that is there. Now, don't get me wrong. It is early days. It's early days for this regime. There are players to come in, like Ricky says, but on the base of it, your second string should be able to come out and play against Dundee, and that's not to be disrespectful to Dundee. It's the Scottish League. You could not have asked for a better kind of fixture list before going into that Old Firm. No disrespect. Obviously, St Mirren's obviously going to be a tricky game. Motherwell at Fir Park can be tricky, but you should be looking at 6 points out of 6 here. Yes, you can look at fatigue from playing these European matches, and, you know, we kind of forget that sometimes, and I get that. You know, I always used to find that back when we used to play in Europe in the early 2000s, we'd always be then away to Inverness on the Sunday, and we'd always be dropping points after a European tie, even under Walter. But it's unforgivable for the squad depth that we've got. It shouldn't be happening, and things have to change now and very quickly, because Russell Martin's now going to find out what it is like in Scotland as a manager in that Goldfish Bowl when you have 2 draws in a row and equal a record from 1989.
I think it was always my namesake, John Rankin, that used to score against us for
It was, yeah. Yeah, it was. Craig Brewster at times.
Ryan, I'll come back to you. I do want to move on from the game. We can come back to it, but kind of the last thing I noticed was, Dessers, no real excuse for being offside. He could see exactly, along that line. But it was the pass into him was what we really needed in that game. And that was really the first time that happened in the game. Just a quick ball into his feet he can turn. Instead of high crosses in, and then they mop it up. Why do you think we weren't doing more of that?
Just the way the manager set us up to play is, I don't see what he's trying to do. It's the whole that you've got 2 really good wingers there between Gassam and Ant-Man who will cause damage, who will come inside, go outside. Very, very, very difficult to play against. and then you've got a striker in there who, on his day, has a finish on, but he obviously does miss a lot as well. So it's what Ricky was saying with getting the better of defenders. I think he does struggle with that, but we have seen him have some great finishes before as well, usually when he doesn't have time to think about it. The pass, there seems to be this broadcasted pass that they seem to do, where it seems to just go right through the middle of the park, and every team's reading it now. And I actually get read on Saturday there, to the extent where John Souttar's passed it right into there, which led to Big Jigger getting sent off. It's so obvious what he's trying to do, and I've been saying for weeks that eventually will be punished. These silly mistakes. At one point, John Souttar's going to bring the ball out of defence, he's going to lose it, and we're going to get punished. You know, had Jigger not brought the boy down, he was probably going to score and go 2-0. And if it goes 2-0, we're not going to come back from that at all. So, Big Jigger's taking one for the team there. So it's a nightmare. It's just that this whole thing at this moment in time is just car crash TV. We need to get more recruitment in. We need to get more bodies in so that we've got better squad depth, so we don't need to play the same team week in, week out between midweek games and games at the weekend. He needs to be able to freshen up at least 4 or 5 guys when he does do that. He needs to be able to have some sort of rotation. At this moment in time, the quality just probably isn't there for him to do that. So I don't have an answer and why he's not doing that. It's obvious to 50,000 people in the stadium what he should be doing, but this guy's a guy with the UEFA badges, and apparently he doesn't think we should be doing it that way. So what can we do?
There was a kind of comment, I think, on last night's pod that the players aren't being brave enough and making like cut-through passes. But as you say, Souttar comes out of midfield, and I guess he's trying to do that, but passes it straight to a Dundee player. And again, as you say, causes us to get one of our players sent off. At the time, I thought it was quite harsh. Andrew, I was at the game. It seemed like he was still quite far away from the goal, but he is last man. He had no complaints. He walked straight up the tunnel, and the guys around me had no doubt that he was going to. It wasn't going to be like overturned by VAR or anything. What did you make of the red card?
Yeah, in real time, I was watching on my phone, my Premier Sports app, because I was having a break at work. And when he went through, and this is the one thing we spotted in pre-season, wasn't it? Where, if you give the ball away, you can be in some trouble with that kind of the way that we press. But you could see from Jiga's reaction that he has clipped him, and he has clipped him. It just takes the finest of touches, whether you mean it or not, you are going to bring somebody down. And that obviously I'll link to the penalty at the end when we do talk about it, because when you are motoring on, the slightest of touches will bring you down. And it is true. It was a sending off. It's the last man. It was frustrating at that point of the game, going a goal down and having a man sent off. It was becoming a nightmare. Oh, you're muted, Billy, I think.
Sorry. Yeah, Andrew. I do know. I'm talking to this Andrew who I pulled on the screen. I do know that that's the reologist, the old hand for last man. It's just grown up in the 80s. That's what we called it. Anyway, guys, look, there's I reached out to some of the guys on our scouting report team who do obviously scouting videos and provide us with information for the podcast as well. And this was particularly about Diomande. So if you don't mind me reading, I'm going to read this off my phone. About a few things that's been brought up for them. They're saying not just Diomande, but the whole midfield are struggling to play this playing style currently. Do you agree with that, Ricky?
Agree with the Diomande's what? Sorry, Billy.
Just that the whole midfield are struggling with this playing style at the moment.
Yeah, but for me, Diomande isn't consistent enough no matter where we play. What I struggle with Diomande, Billy, if I'm being honest with you, he's not a 6. He's not quick enough because he kind of plays the way he's facing quite a lot. I don't think he's quick enough ball control. He's not a Hadji, for example, so he's not a 10. So the only kind of natural position for me would be the number 8. But he's getting pushed left and right of that. So he's a bit like Kieran Dowell. He's getting played out of position. But I just don't think he's consistent enough, and it's all far too easy. Somebody had mentioned they're not taking chances. I don't think he takes. He's forward of the pivot. He's forward of the defenders. Him and Leo Cameron could be taking a lot more on. If it doesn't come off, it doesn't come off. He should have the luxury of having the people behind him to hopefully win that ball back. But we haven't got the bravery in that position. And Diomande, I don't get what he's bringing to the party. Another £4 million player, and for every one game we might get a decent performance from him. But he's going 3-4 games without. But it's almost like a jersey down at times. And I just thought by now, pre-season behind him, he's a fit lad. He doesn't miss many games. But I don't get it. I don't understand what he's bringing to the party now, Diomande. Whether it's because it's a heavy shirt, he's in a wee bit of bad form, clearly. And it probably doesn't help me, for example, come on here and slating the boy. But at the end of the day, all I want is what's best for Rangers. And we must have better in the middle of the park than Diomande until he can get a bit of form and a bit of consistency going. Because at the moment, the boy needs to be dropped, in my opinion.
Let me bring up a first slide for people at home, and this is to compare his time at Nordsjælland to his positional sense with us. Now, Gordon from the scouting side, says most of the time the playing style at Nordsjælland was quick, high press, quick football, but here it's the opposites. So, Ryan, if I can get your opinion on the heat map here, he's obviously not playing the same type of role for us as he did for them.
Yep. So why do we sign him? Why do we sign him to bring him in and play a different position? If we're looking for somebody in that particular position, why do we not bring somebody in that plays in that position? He's clearly on the left-hand side here, from what's been shown. I think he was quite effective. A lot of goals in his game as well when he was in Denmark. And we seem to have coached that out of him, that he's not scoring any goals. I think he scored 2 goals in his first 2 games for us. I don't even think he's had a shot on target since. It just baffles me. He seems like a player that likes to play with the luxury of time. He likes to, get the ball down, get his head up, have a wee look around, see pick out a good pass and stuff. But there's a stat in there from, I think it was Andrew mentioned it. He's got 1 forward pass into the Dundee final third on Saturday. A game at Ibrox, we really expected to go out there. People are going, we're going to win 4-5-0 this weekend. And we've got one of our centre midfielders playing number 8, who's only had 1 forward pass into the final third. So the ball's going back the way too much. It's not going sideways out to wings. It's just going back to the centre halves and back to the centre halves. So it's going back to Rothwell. And it's crap to watch. And Diomande, unfortunately, is a victim of this because he's going to fly with the Crows. He's going to get shot with the Crows. It's just really disappointing to see because I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think we're using him properly.
Andrew, and it's not a huge amount more heat when he's with Nordsjælland, but he is in the box more. If you can see by our stats, he's hardly ever in the box. But he was in that left side, coming in, I guess, supporting role there, whether it's scoring goals or laying it off for someone else. So but we're using him in a completely different area of the pitch than he was used to. And when you look over these stats that you're going to see, you'll see that not a lot has really improved. We haven't improved them as a player.
No, I totally agree. I do like Mohamed Diomande. When you do see him in Europe, when the ball's tight with him, he's very good at taking a man on, but we don't see enough of it, and we don't. In Scotland, a player just has to stand a foot away from him and just stand him up, and he's not getting past him. We have not improved him, and you can see here the stats you've put up. Similar amount of games started, 5 goals for Nordsjælland, 4 for Rangers, assists 5 to 4, not too dissimilar. Obviously, we played in more in that kind of double pivot role, didn't we, under Clement, which really feels criminal when you're playing in the Scottish League, especially when you're at home. I never quite fully understood that, and I always thought we really did have the reins on, and we never let him be a little bit more free, where I think he could have done a little bit better pressing up a bit, but it's a little bit of if, what's, buts and maybes because we've never properly really seen him do it. He can be a tidy player, came through the Right to Dream Academy, one of their top kind of prospects coming out of there. Nordsjælland's got a great relationship with the Right to Dream Academy. I think they paid something like £25,000 for him or something, and he was one of them that really did meet a lot of metrics. There's still work to be done. Can Russell Martin be that guy to get something out of him? I don't know. I think there's bigger problems for Russell Martin at the minute, but yeah, we definitely haven't improved them, that's for sure.
Let me bring out some key points that I've noticed as regards his previous club and to us. As Andrew says, very similar when it comes to games started, goals. Okay, there's one in it. Shots is a wee bit less with us than before. Passing accuracy, 85% to 87% with us. Duels won 45% to 49% with us, so that's a bit of an improvement with us. Recoveries very similar, 7.1 to 7.3. Interceptions though, Ricky, 4.2 interceptions per 90 in his previous club, only 2.6 with us. And there's another one I wanted to bring out, which was forward pass. So it's not that one. Let me just find it again. I'll come back to me. It's not jumping out again.
Second from the bottom on them there, mate.
The forward passes.
Yeah, forward passes for Northland, 11.9, I think it says, per 90, and forward passes for Rangers, 12.9 per 90.
So what I was going to ask you, Ricky, is these stats, I mean, I'm not naturally great with looking at stats and thinking that's how it translates to the park, but actually in this case, this is what I do see when I'm watching him play, which isn't maybe what I was hoping for when he signed.
Yeah, as I think Ryan's already mentioned it, maybe even yourself, Billy, but you know, he's not improved since his days over in Denmark with Northland. You know, those stats tell me, and bearing in mind, if you look at the previous heat map, most of his play was on the left-hand side of their midfield, clearly. We got him playing more further forward than that, but on the right-hand side. And I think he is probably more of an actual left-sided, left-footed player. So his stats with Northland probably were better. Hence why somebody decided that this guy was worth the £4 million. But he's come into us now. Whether we are playing him out of position, which Ryan has definitely mentioned, are we not utilising this boy properly? I mean, I possibly not. But you know, he is more forward to the goal, but he doesn't do any running in behind. There's nothing going in behind. I remember the goal he scored, you know, just outside the box. It was a pass into the corner. The keeper didn't get to it. And there was a couple of shots that followed that a couple of games later. And that has just all disappeared from his game now. You can't just say it's Russell Martin, because he played under Beale for a period of time. So are we utilising the guy properly? I don't know, but I don't see him linking enough of the play for somebody who potentially was brought in to be that. I'm not saying he's a 10 because he ain't a 10, clearly not. But for me, he's an 8, so he's that box-to-box midfielder, and I don't see that. I don't. If you keep on going on like this, Barron is probably going to be a better option. Potentially, I don't know. I mean, he's not the kind of football sort of a skillful player. But what are we getting for Diomande that we think we should be? And this is what I'm a bit confused with. I just don't know what he's offering. And those stats would suggest, as I've already said, he's not improving with us from when the boy came in. And what age is he, by the way? Is it 24, 25?
Off the top of my head, I don't remember actually. Sorry.
So he's 23, born in 2001. Right.
So the boy's still got a bit of time to learn, to be fair, isn't he? And let's face it, we all know how heavy a Rangers jersey is, and it can't be easy because our fans can turn on you quite quickly, and he's in that situation. For me, there's a lot of fans, myself included, and that's why I say I think he needs to be taken out the limelight and given a little break. Maybe not so much in Europe, because he does tend to perform a bit better in Europe. But domestically, we're getting nothing from him, and I think Russell Martin needs to give that boy a break.
I think I remember what it was that I was looking at, and it was interceptions. Yeah, it was 4.2 interceptions per 90 in his previous club, and only 2.6 interceptions now for a midfielder for Rangers. I think that should be higher than that. Let's move on to next slide, which really just kind of shows the positional. How he does well in different aspects of the game. So goals, assists, interceptions, and that side. So if you're looking at the right-hand side of the graph, that's dramatically went down, Ryan, hasn't it?
Yeah, Yeah, that's it. This is stuff that's affecting the game, and it just seems to have just come out of him. I'll be honest. Like, all these stats, I'm not massive on stats. I believe what your eyes tell you. What these pie charts and sides and stuff like that tell you. And my eyes tell me he's not cutting at the moment. And Ricky's hit the nail on the head for me. That he just needs taking out the team and just giving a wee bit of a rest. Just now, we've seen the benefit that it's given Jack Butland. Now that he was taking out the team towards the end of last season, obviously he's come back, and we're looking to see him come back to the best that we've seen him before. So I think that's what we need to do with Diomande. But it just seems to be going back, and I don't know. I'd be interested to see against these peers, how would that compare to other players that are playing in the middle? Your Raskins in there, your Camerons, are their numbers similar to what he's got?
That's funny you mentioned that because Gordy has kind of brought these things up for us. So there you go. There's the stats wheel when it comes to comparing with the Raskin. So Andrew, I know you've not seen these yet, but it looks to me that Raskin outperforms him, and he's been playing a similar position recently. I know that's not where he always plays, but Raskin certainly looks a lot better.
Yeah, he does look a bit more rounded, doesn't he? Obviously, striking with Diomande there, it's defensive actions, defensive duels won, interceptions for somebody that's kind of playing in that double pivot where you kind of expected to kind of sweep up a little bit at times while one presses and one goes. You might expect a little better. However, we are a bit of a... it's good to compare with Raskin because obviously when you compare Nordsjælland with Rangers, with two different teams play different sides, we kind of, one team might have more possession than the other, so it's good to see this. Obviously we know what Raskin's capable of. He's very good at mopping up the ball. It can win the midfield in games like Old Firm games and really be commanding there. That's not something we've quite seen from Diomande. I would argue that he needs to be pushed up a little bit more, I think, and given a little bit more free rein. I don't want to use the old thing that I say all the time, there's a player in there. There is a player in there, and we're not developing him. I think his development stunted last season, and considering we didn't make that many signings and we were utilising the players that we had due to all the stuff that was going on, maybe he just stagnated a little bit. Maybe, like Ryan says, he needs a little bit of time out. Obviously, Butland got injured towards the end of last season and was taken out of the firing line, and he's had a bit of a reset. So hopefully, maybe the same can happen with Diomande. But yeah, it's not looking good. You'd expect more goals as well. Obviously, he wasn't the highest scoring at Nordsjælland, but still you'd expect him with a better team around him to be able to, and especially the opposition we play, especially in the league, you would expect that little bit more. But just from what I've seen, like Ryan says, it's the eye test. It's what you see from him on the park. It's when in Europe he can take a ball past a man with that ball tight to him, and they're not getting it. In Scotland, a defender will just look at him and stand a yard away and just jockey him, and he'll have to stop and then move the ball back. I think it's a thing that's familiar throughout the team. There is a mentality thing as well, where people just aren't wanting to take risks, frustratingly.
Ryan, I'm going to swivel back to you because it's something Ricky said that Connor Barron would maybe be a better option in his position. If you're not going to move him forward or change his position, is Connor Barron a better option at the moment?
No, for me. He's technically not good enough. This whole tippy-tappy, quick 1-2s, firing the ball out there. I think there was a couple of times we've seen Barron get brought on against Blitzen, just as basically getting fresh legs on at the part. The ball was getting fired into him, and he's got a touch like a set of railings, to be honest. So it's no. There'll be better options out there. I think Barron's in there, bolster your Scottish quota for the Europa League and your Champions League squads. But I don't think he's technically not good enough to take somebody like Diomande out the team. There'll be better options. Asgard's probably there. Cameron will probably come in to be in his zone. They're probably the two that would compete to take the jersey off him.
No, that's fair enough. And again, I do want to thank Gordy for making these slides up for me. It was short notice. I'm going to skip over, though, the Lyle Cameron one because I don't think it's fair. He's only had a few games, so it's not really fair to compare them yet, and they're not exactly playing in the same position. But I did think it'd be interesting to see him compared to Hadji, Ricky, because I'm not saying we chased Hadji out of the team, but there's not many fans that wanted him to stay around. But there's some stats say like through passes that just make Hadji a better option.
Well, I was a fan of Hadji, mate, and I thought we drastically improved our midfield when he came back into the team. Once he was training with the reserves, with the B team, never sulked. He came back in, and we had a really good sort of a period of time, and the team benefited from him. But Hadji is a talented player. Again, for whatever reason, he was played out of position and hung out to dry when he was played out in the right wing, as in Dowell is at the moment as well. We've now got two decent wingers. Cortez, is he ever going to come good? Who knows? Mike Kimura. So we've got competition for the wingers there now. And somebody like Hadji in our team right now, providing that number 10 position for the Lyle Cameron, who is, for me, another kind of Scotty Arfield. He will go beyond. If he's allowed to go beyond, he will make those runs. People like Hadji are the kind of people who find these runs. I just don't see that with Diomande. But you're absolutely, I agree with Ryan. I mentioned Barron. I don't think he's the answer. And the two players that will come in will be hopefully Asgard. And the good thing is we have got options. And Diomande may well just need that little bit of a break and then come back and a really fresh player, want to prove everybody wrong, and then become that asset who clearly some people believe he is. Just at this moment in time, the boy just needs a wee break, But yeah, I believe Hadji, if he wasn't on the kind of money that he was on, then we would have gave him a new contract. But for whatever reason, didn't want to give him the £24,000 a week that it's reported that he was demanding. But we're giving that to like Matondo, Ben Davis, who are not even anywhere near our squad. We are struggling with shocking recruitment from the Beale and dare say GL era. The board, whoever it may be, Clement trying to run the show himself with nobody upstairs. It was just, and we're suffering now. We finances because of players that we've got we cannot get rid of, and it's biting us hard.
Andrew, there's a couple of stats that, and I don't know why Goldie's picked Hadji to compare him to, but I was quite pleased that he did because it does show up a few things. His assists are very similar, but his second assist, now a lot of people maybe say what second assist mean. Quite often that can be the actual pass that breaks the low block, the pass.
Yeah.
Yep. The pass out to the winger who then rolls it off to Dessers, whatever, to roll in an empty net, something like that. That's better with a player like Hadji. Again, I'm not saying he should have stayed around. Ricky makes a good point. The money he was on. We've already got far too many players that aren't playing to good enough standard on high money. So, but we do need to maybe get someone in. And I know that is a different position. Hadji's a number 10. Diomande very rarely gets played there. But he really should be doing better. But the shots as well, 90 shots for Hadji, or not 90 shots, but he's in the 90 percentile, and 65 for Diomande, which shows to me that he's not, for a Rangers midfielder, he should be getting more shots away than that.
I totally agree, and I think that's where we try and pass the ball where we were under Clement, trying to pass the ball out to the wings to get balls into the box to be headed clear and rinse and repeat. I think he would work very well in a team that's a little bit more direct, and for the love of God, I just hope we start becoming that little bit more direct, a bit of a mixture of that and using the wings well, because now we've got that opportunity to use the wings better because we ain't got people doubling up now because you've got almost an equal on each side. Things that did stick out there, accurate passes from Diomande, 92%. Again, is that more the fact that he's played the simple ball a few more times? Obviously a possibility. So. Yeah, I think that's just something that we're seeing throughout the team now. Some of these stats, I think you've got to kind of look behind. With Hadji, he was a very mixed bag. Injury didn't help him. It's a very difficult one. I don't think we ever got the full potential of him, but I don't think he left us with all the stuff with his agent and stuff, not to go into it all. But I think we have a little bit of romanticism over the Braga game, but as somebody said in the comments there, I think it was Andrew, he's currently unemployed, which I guess, I don't know if it's because he's holding out for what he sees as a better deal, but Anyway, I digress. But yeah, with Diomande, the things that really are glaring, like you say, it's the attacking sense. He's not been utilised enough in that kind of attacking sense. I'd like to see a little bit more of it. I think Glenn Kamara is a similar player in that respect, that sometimes he'd be utilised, a little bit more, not to go forward. And then sometimes when you'd see him go forward, that there's a player there. It earned him his move to Leeds. Did quite well in Europe as well. Another one of those players that isn't too dissimilar in that respect. But it'll kind of be a little bit of a make or break season, I think, now for Diomande. For the time that he's been here now, the output has to improve. But at the same time, it can't be an absolute circus that's going on in the background with other things. There needs to be a full focus on the team and people having their roles, know what they're doing, and changing things up, I think, is big. I think if we change things up a little bit more, then Diomande could be utilised a little bit more better in like a number 10 role.
I did want to bring up, and Gold has done quite a few different slides for me, but this is his defensive data. I would say, I'm just going to summarise this one because there's another one I want to talk about. For us in Europe and for us in domestic, very similar, maybe slightly better performances in Europe. But again, the kind of general shape of this graph is showing the kind of that he's doing the similar kind of job. When it comes to attacking, Ryan, I'll let you, again, I know you've just seen it, and you're probably like me that these aren't particularly native to understand, but generally by the shape of this, you can tell that how he's kind of performing. And again, I'm going to go back to this. I think he looked better at his previous club.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he has shown signs that he can. I mean, do you remember his goal against Nice last year in the Europa League, where he broke the line and he's managed to get his toe on, he's lobbed the goalkeeper.
Fantastic.
So it's in there. It is in there, but he's got to be given the license to do it. And we don't, as Joe Public, as fans, know what his instructions are. His instructions could be, don't go into the final third. Just stay out and just basically protect. Allow the wingers to go into the final third. Allow the strikers there. You stay out the edge of the box, and if there's anything comes out, your job's to recycle. So, and that might be frustrating him as well, which could be leading to poor performances. He doesn't feel as if he's getting utilised well. Doesn't feel as if he's being used to the best of his ability. And naturally, if you think you're capable of something your boss isn't using you well, your head will go down. You won't feel valued within the club, and naturally his performances will suffer from that. So the simple answer is take him out of the team. It's as simple as that, and it's not as if we're struggling with options. We went into situations where we only had one striker, we only had one goalkeeper, one right back. When we had the Tavernier for months on end, we were saying the Tavernier should be dropped, but we only had one right back at the club, so we had to play him. We've got options in the middle of the park there, so let's just take him out. And it's not just so much it's going to benefit the team; it's also going to protect the player as well. So it's going to protect his value as well, because his value could be going down if he starts kind of showing poor form, poor stats. That's going to be, affecting all these metrics that we're looking at, and ultimately he's going to be getting taken out the eye for some of the bigger clubs that we'd hope to sell him onto.
100% agree. That's what I was going to bring out as well. That even if he isn't suitable for us, Ricky, I don't think by those stats. These are the kind of stats these teams look at. Obviously, look at it much more detailed than that, but they're probably not. There's no big team going to come in or a bigger team going to come in and offer us more than what we paid for him.
Well, there was talk about David Moyes was looking at him at Everton. I mean, I don't know how true that was, but I don't see that Diomande getting, at this current moment in time, moving for any great amount of money between now and the end of the window, at the end of the month, mate. He's ours. It's as simple as that. I don't think the 49ers would accept a low ball offer, because there's definitely the ages on his side, and if we can get him playing to which the potential that the boy's got, it just hasn't got it at the moment. Confidence, the way they've maybe utilised him, as has been mentioned, a style of play may not be suiting him, and as Ryan's already said, it's what he's getting told to do in the football pitch that we haven't got a clue. But all these things aside, the club will make a decision if an offer comes in. If an offer did come in, he's the type of player that I think I would say yes. If we can make some sort of profit on him, I would say let him go, because I don't think he's suited for domestic football in Scotland.
Right, we'll move on because there is an important game tomorrow, and a lot of people might think we're already through, like our own Scott Cameron on Friday's pod. He said we're 99% there, and I don't share that confidence because I support Rangers. So it never is. It's never as easy as that. So yeah, last week, let me quick recap. We're 3-0 up. This is still an important game because okay, we've got guaranteed Europa League football, but this comes with 5 million bonus on top of that if we get through this round. That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is we hopefully go on and qualify for the Champions League and get the money that comes with that, which is obviously what these owners are looking for. And I think that would probably be in their mind a season ahead of time to get to that level. So Andrew, let me come to you first. Let me ask you this, did you happen to see their game from the weekend? They also drew 1 each.
No, I hadn't seen it, unfortunately. I did hear the result was a draw. But
well, let me come back in before you say anything else. Their opening goal was fantastic. Very similar to what Dessler did it the other day. The ball zipped through to his feet. He's a really strong, big centre half, turns and smashes it. Brilliant goal. And the only reason they draw is because an accidental handball in the 93rd minute and the penalty equalises. So I'll come back to you, Andrew, on them as a team. Do you think that they'll have enough to challenge us? They need 3 in normal time and they need 4 overall. So how do you think it's going to play out?
They'll look at us as a bit of a wounded animal at the minute. Obviously, their draw with Slovakia at the weekend, isn't ideal for them. But we are arguably in a slightly worse situation. And people will look at it as, we are potentially a bad result away from an implosion. Their coach has been very critical. He actually was I did enjoy his comments after the Rangers game. I think he did put a lot of praise on us and said basically we were unstoppable the way we were playing. They will have to come out from the start and they will have to go at us. There's no doubt about it. That could play into our favour, but as it stands at the minute, don't get me wrong, our defence, I think Suter and Dija will be fine. I think we are seeing, I think Dija's a fantastic defender, a lot of last-ditch tackles at times very well. But, obviously with that red card from the weekend being his head, realistically, it's highly unlikely that they will come back and win the way they did. But, we can't forget, yes, they've got that atrocious Champions League record, which is only pipped by us, just by a goal. But They did go far in the Europa Conference, last season. I think they drew with Fiorentina as well, so they're not a terrible side on their day. We are kind of yet to see what they have to offer. Now it'll be different, it's like going to places like the Czech Republic. There can be some cauldrons. Atmosphere might be a little bit different. Obviously their fans will try and back the team, but I think there will be that sense of the tie's probably done as well. I think especially if we can score early on. If we score early on, the game will be completely done and there'll be no way back at all. We've just got to keep the head. Obviously, the dressing room's a big, not necessarily a big question mark at the minute, but, Martin's comments, about the players a week ago, obviously changing the team. This team did well, and then all of a sudden at the weekend, it wasn't so good again. I think we have to be careful that Martin doesn't lose that dressing room. I wouldn't say we're anywhere near that stage at the minute, but things seem to be happening very quickly at Rangers, and you're only as good as your last game. So I'm just hoping they try and banish the demons, put a good European performance in, and just get a nice win just to help the coefficient points.
Ryan, Andrew made a point there that I was going to actually come to you, but I still will. There's no point in me saying if you were Russell Martin, what would you do? Because I don't think anybody else can guess. But if you had your preference of what to happen tomorrow, an early goal from us obviously kills the tie. But do you go out to defend the 3-0 lead, or do you go out to kill it off?
Yeah. So my hope is there's a wee change of shape tomorrow. I would like to see him possibly go with a back 3 and play there. Just we don't. The thing is, we don't need to win this game, and we also don't need to necessarily draw the game. We just need to make sure that we don't lose badly. Is what we just need to protect ourselves from. So I would be quite happy to see a back 3 of Tav, Jigger, and Suter coming in with Aarons and Jeffy making up almost like a kind of wing backs and a sort of back 5. A good solid three across the middle of the park in Raskin, Rothwell, maybe Diomande, maybe Cameron, depending on fitness, and then Gassam and Dessers, and Dessers basically up there as the target man with Gassam playing off him quickly, maybe even Ant-Man. But I would like them to play a bit, box a bit clever. We don't need to go out there in our normal permission tippy-tappy nonsense. We need to go out there and do our job tomorrow night. We don't need to go out there and try and impress anybody. We don't need to go out there. We don't owe anybody anything tomorrow night. We just got to go out there and get 90 minutes of football done and make sure we don't lose 3 goals. And if, as professional footballers, as Rangers players, if they can't do that, then they need to have a right good look at themselves. But I'd like to see the manager give the players a wee hand tomorrow night and just try and play a little bit more tactically. I'm not think he's going to change his philosophy. I think that's all going to that's the way he wants to do things. But I think he needs to be a bit more clever about the way he does things. I think he needs to protect the lead.
Ricky, if you're the Victoria manager, are you going out all guns blazing to get a goal back quickly as possible, or are you maybe taking it a bit more patiently? Because if they do open themselves up, we do have Gassam, we do have Ant-Man if they're playing to kind of get behind them and probably get a goal if they do play gung-ho too much.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I think was in such a strong position, Billy. I mean, 3-0 from Ibrox is a fantastic result on any level, because what does the manager do? They cannot afford to lose a goal, as Andrew's alluded to, but at the same time, he's got to score at least 3 to take it to extra time. And nothing, it's a tough ask for them. So it's difficult for them. And just building on what Ryan was saying, I get what you say with 5 at the back, but I would personally go with 4-2-3-1. Very similar, but I would have Jeffy to give the balance at left back, and I'd probably play Tav instead of Aarons, but that's just me. Only because Tav does offer you something going forward. He's a bit more direct. Aarons at the moment is just in that recycle mode, which is a little bit boring at the moment. But I'd have the double pivot with Raskin and Rothwell tomorrow, utilising both your wingers with a bit of pace over the top, and then probably Lyle Cameron in there supporting Dessers, making those forward runs. I think that's a solid formation. We're not going to lose a lot of goals here, and it gives us a chance to hit them on the break. So I'd like to see a 4-2, but please play people in the positions. Do not put Aarons at left back, because we're leaving ourselves vulnerable. The guy can't play there. He's not comfortable. Not yet anyway. He's settling into a Rangers jersey as well. And I think we've all seen that last week, if you play people in their natural positions, you get that balance. And if you get the balance, you tend to just get a little bit more confidence in your forward play and trust in each other, because everybody's comfortable or supposedly comfortable with their playing, Billy, So, yeah, I don't think he'll go with his normal formation, because he doesn't have to win the game, as Ryan's already said. But hit them in the break, 1 goal, as Andrew said, game's over.
Andrew, I'll let you come in with a little bit of your formation ideas, but Ryan and Ricky obviously suggesting 2 different approaches. What would you be hoping for?
I'd be happy with a back 3 as well, as Ryan said. I really would. I know the kind of back 4 is a bit more tried and trusted, but it's a different type of game. Let's try something attacking. Let's try something different. I know some people might say it's probably not the ideal game to do it, but we're 3-0 up. If things aren't working, then just revert back to some sort of possession ball to make sure that you don't concede. But realistically, we should be going out there to look to finish the tie. I do think a back 3. I like C2 up top as well. The midfield, we've got a lot of quality in that midfield that we can choose from. So, I would definitely say Raskin. Like Ryan said earlier and Ricky said as well, obviously Diomande does need a rest. Raskin, Rothwell, that would look, I think, quite good in midfield, and have 2 up top. I would go back 3. Definitely go back 3. Right, Ricky?
Ricky, I was coming to you anyways. Yep.
The only problem with the back 5 is you're not going to use wingers. And I think you need to use the wingers for pace to get in behind them. If you have your back 5, it means you're going to be Jeffy, it's either going to be Tav or Aarons, and all of a sudden you're dropping Gassama and you're dropping Ant-Man. You've got no pace. If you get Jeffy, he'll give you pace, but we need him defending. If he's caught up that pitch, then I think it's a bit of a gamble playing 5 at the back when you get no pace. We just need a goal. We need pace to kill them. Hence why I prefer the 2 wingers in there.
Do you mean that kind of like it's a 3 in possession and a 5 out of possession? Is that what you're kind of meaning?
Well, if you play me three at the back, I get that. You've got your two full-backs in who are going to be your wingers. You can't play Ant-Man and Gassama if you're going to be playing Tav and as your wing-backs. So all of a sudden you're taking your pace out of your team. You've got two guys who are going to leave your back three vulnerable because you've not got Gassama or Ant-Man in that pitch playing with five at the back.
Fair dues, Ricky. Well, like Andrew, we're going to have to wrap things up because we're 55 minutes into this, and Scott will give us into trouble. Ricky, once again, fantastic to meet you. Hopefully, you're up again a few more times this season, and I'll bump into you again. So, any final thoughts on the game tomorrow?
I think again, typical European performance. I think we'll be quite comfortable. I think we'll probably possibly even win the game because if we can use that pace, I think we'll catch them out. You know, they'll probably put a bit of pressure on us, but I think we can handle that, and we'll hit them on the break. And I've got reason to believe that we cannot actually go there and actually win the game. I'm quite confident we'll win the game.
Well, thanks for coming on, mate. Andrew, you can say what you were going to say, but I did want to start wrapping things up. Your thoughts on tomorrow, though?
I like Ricky. I think it will be a win. It will be one of these performances that kind of makes us fall in love with Rangers again. And it's like a bad relationship, isn't it? A few days ago it was terrible. Now it's brilliant. You can just see it coming. Obviously, I don't know if Martin's got changes in mind for Alawa. He probably does. So, you might not need to look at, taking players out early. He might go with quite a strong side tomorrow night, even if we are 3-0 up. But I think it could be a comfortable win if we score early on.
Again, mate, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Ryan, last but not least, your thoughts on tomorrow, and again, thank you for coming on.
No bother. Just go and get the job done. Just whatever it takes, whatever you need to do, just go and do it. Just go and get the job done. I would err on the side of caution about thoughts on Alloa and changes for Alloa and stuff. I'd remind everyone what happened in February with a certain other team from Glasgow who came and got a wee 1-0 victory against us. So Alloa have actually started quite well this season. They won their first league game of the season. They did finish top of the Premier League Sports Cup as well, which did include a group including Dundee, who we couldn't beat at the weekend.
Yeah,
so
100% records. Yep.
I would be erring on the side of caution before we actually think about making multiple changes against Alloa. We've still got a game to win.
No, you're quite right, mate. You're quite right. Well, look, thank you all for coming on. Thank you for all the comments at the side. Hopefully we've brought up the kind of pertinent ones. Thank you for watching at home. And if you haven't commented, can I just remind everyone that we release these podcasts as audio podcasts on all the platforms like Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all of them as far as I can see that I've checked. So please, if you want to recommend this to someone who even doesn't get the chance to sit down and watch the pods, please recommend it to any of your friends that like to listen to podcasts. I know a lot of mine do. And also just to mention our sponsor, Off to the Match I Go. Now, Dave mentioned last night that they actually do requests from things if you contact them as well. I didn't know that. But if you're looking for any Rangers memorabilia, head over to offtothematchigo.co.uk. And if you like anything you see there, enter the code Journal10 at checkout and you get 10% off all that. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow before the game and obviously after the game as well with pre and post-match reactions. Pods all through the week, so please check us out. It's all publicised on YouTube when we'll be going live. And every night is a Rangers Journal night. See you soon.